Hello and welcome to Game and Chat. In this episode, we had the opportunity to attend a Yooka-Replaylee panel over at MCM ComicCon X EGX October 2024, and it was hosted by Annie Valkama, and on the panel was Gavin Price, Simon Gurges, Kev Bayliss, and Steve Males. It was an absolute privilege and an honor to be able to be there and, see these guys talking about ukulele and, more importantly, Yooka-Replaylee and the differences between the two games, the improvements they've made, listening to feedback on the original game and how they've implemented, quality of life changes and so much more to Yooka-Replaylee. So now I'm going to shut up and let you listen to the rest of the panel.
Been able to find a lot more support roles for the studio, so I'm the happiest I've been in a long time. I can't wait to share more about the game.
Nice. Perfect, then Kev, go ahead.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming. My name's Kevin and I'm classed as a senior 3D artist. That doesn't mean I'm old, that just means I've been there for a long time. I'm doing this anyway, so experience, that's right. I was very kindly asked to join Playtonic in 2015 by Gav as its company, and I saw an email that came through and it had all of the right names on it, so I responded to it, yes please, and so I joined the team, and I've been working there for nearly 10 years now.
Simon.
Hello everybody, my name is Simon Gurges. I've been in the industry now for just about 20 years. I started out as a gameplay programmer back in 2004 at Rare, and I spent 11 very happy years yet there, and then I spoke to Kevin just after the formation of Playtonic, and I joined my ex-colleagues, and I've been there for around 9 years now, and now I find myself as the heading up the software.
Last but not least, Steve.
Hello, everyone. See, I've been given a very fancy title, which I'm sure I don't deserve that. But I've been in this business for 32 years now, through the Donkey Kong Country games and Banjo-Kazooie, and now at Playtonic doing the Yooka stuff. So yeah, it's good stuff.
Brilliant. Before we go into the tough questions, I thought I'd ease them into it. And this could actually be an interesting one. So I'd be curious to hear, what is the game that made you get into game development? And if you don't have a game, then you can just share your favorite game. And whoever wants to go first, can go first.
Yeah, I'll go. I grew up playing Spectrum games with my brother, and games like really loved games by Julian Gollop, games like Chaos and Laser Squad, and those sort of turn-based strategy games. We really used to like those, but at no point now did I think, I want to be in video games. Being Spectrum, we had loads of the Ultimate games, and I really loved the Ultimate games. Especially Sabre Wolf in particular was a real standout, where I'm beginning to think, how do they make it, look so good, and sort of get interested into it, and then kind of winding up at Rare, working for the people who made these games you played during your childhood, like Tim and Chris Stamper, was crazy, really. I think it was probably around sort of mid-80s, the arcades like Outrun and Double Dragon, where things were starting to get looking really nice, and you play the arcade games. There's still nothing like that you could play at home. I think that was probably the point where I thought, this could be, something I'd really like to do in future.
For myself, my passion for games started in the mid-80s on the Atari, the old wooden Atari Switchbox, the old 2600. I was the youngest of 3 siblings, and my brother and sister were quite a bit older than me, so physically they could batter me, and I could never beat them at anything, or that kind of stuff. I didn't understand complex board game logic or anything, but as soon as the joystick was in my hand, I realised it's an even playing field, and as long as I kept playing, I was like, wow, this is fantastic. I can beat everyone in my family or something. So just simple games like Frostbite, Combat, Mega Mania, really old stuff, Yard's Revenge, getting high scores, things like that. So I realised really early I had this like enthusiasm and passion for doing high scoring and stuff like that. So from then on, that was when I just fell in love with video games. It was just for that reason that it leveled the playing field within like the family dynamic, and I loved that as a kid. But as I got older, just certain games that I just thought were transformative from what was going on before. You know, seeing Mario go from level by level structure to Super Mario World, and all of a sudden it felt like an actual world existed and the universe existed with Mario, and there's places to go off and see and secrets to find, things like that. Legend of Zelda, you know, you just used to playing high score games back then, and level by level the background would change, but Zelda being this like progressive open world adventure just really kept me thinking, wow, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen in a few years' time? And I just always wanted to be part of, or hoped, and still hope to be part of that answer.
Wow.
No pressure, Simon.
Follow that one up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think my background is probably slightly different. I think I started playing games on the Commodore 64 and Atari ST in my early. I mean, it was very varied the kind of games that I played then, but I think I first really got into side-scrolling beat 'em up. You mentioned Double Dragon, and then even Altered Beast and games like that. And then later on, I was playing obviously Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. But then I started playing. I kind of transitioned onto more on my PC, and I was playing games like SimCity 2000, and then later games like real-time strategy games like Command and Conquer and things like that. But never, honestly, during that whole time, never did I think I would ever be a game developer, because I think at the time it wasn't really anything that you aspired to be. I think it was just the kind of thing that very few people did, you know. So it was really much later. It was actually even after I started my university course that I then think, you know what, I can actually do game developer, and I realised that.
Now you are. I never knew you were a beat-em-up fan. But I'm a little bit older than the other guys. So I started off with the ZX81 and programming on that a little bit. But if you want to know the game that got me in, again, it's been mentioned twice, and that was Double Dragon. I took a college course with my friend Doug, and I really didn't want to go back to school. I used to spend a lot of time in this arcade playing Double Dragon. And then, just by coincidence, there was an advertisement in the local paper for Rare Limited, and I sent some artwork to those guys because I didn't want to go back to school and didn't want to go to college again. So they asked me to come in, and when I saw the place and I realised it was actually what was, as Steve mentioned, Ultimate Play the Game, I jumped at the chance when they offered me a position there. But the thing that sort of I always remember from going for my interview there was actually some leaflets from the arcades, and they'd been to Japan and everywhere, and they'd got Double Dragon leaflets, and I actually took the leaflet, asked Carol Stamper if she could photocopy it for me. She could prove to all of my friends that I knew at college that this Double Dragon, I'm going to work with the people that know where Double Dragon was made. And now I've always been a beat-em-up fan, so we haven't done a beat-em-up yet, but I'm working on it. So.
Looking forward to the ukulele beat-em-up game. Yeah, I could talk about myself, but no one wouldn't. You would be. Some of the people in the room would be shocked over the age difference here. But I started on the first PlayStation. I've been a big 3D platformer person my entire life, so I played through all the original 3 Crash Bandicoot games. Your Ape Escapes, your Croc, which I'm so excited it's coming back. I know it divides a lot of people. I didn't mind the tank control. I played the Spyros, all this sort of stuff. So I most recently played the new Astrobot, which I'm sure others have as well, and all those, like, the one qualm I had, I'm going on a tangent, and I am the panel host, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but there's like a slight spoiler, there's like a dedicated level to kind of Ape Escape, and I was really bothered by the fact that it didn't take the controls from the original Ape Escape game, but then I realized that gamers today probably wouldn't like controlling the camera with the L1 and R1 buttons, but yeah, I was slightly bothered by it, but fantastic game, nonetheless. I will stop talking. You're welcome! Perfect, so now we're moving on to the hard questions. We've eased them into there's a feeling of ease. So now we start with the difficult questions. So obviously, when Playtonic kind of initially started back in 2014, I believe one of the first panels you did was at EGX Rest 2015, and for some reason they keep letting us come back here whenever we have a new ukulele game. I believe Chris Sutherland was hosting that panel back then. Unfortunately, couldn't join us this week, and I believe he introduced you guys as not the Backstreet Boys, but as the Back Together Boys. And if I had more time, I would have created some sort of visual, but I think since they hadn't seen the slides previously, I might have been told off if I did that. But yeah, so obviously, compared to back when you kind of first started, nearly a decade ago, so it's early next year that Playtonic's going to be turning 10 years old. What were kind of the goals of the company back when you very first started, and how does it kind of compare to where the company is now? Do you still have similar goals? Do you feel like you've achieved some of the goals? Let's just talk about it. Whoever wants to go first, can go first.
You have gone straight into the hard questions.
I'll do my best, but we're still coming back to you. Yeah, I mean, then it was, there was just 6 of us. It was, I'd been sort of cosseted at Rare for 22 years, and all of a sudden it was like, it was just like no money, just 6 of us. We were just sort of trading on our sort of reputations, really, which was everything, which gave us quite a lot of traction with the media, thankfully. But yeah, it was as exciting as it was also very scary, because we had like 3 months or so and a very finite budget to come up with some sort of like a video of what looked like it might be a game to head the Kickstarter with, really. And we thought we'd be okay with the Kickstarter, because we were getting so many messages of good luck and if you do a Kickstarter, we'll back it, but nothing's guaranteed, and we certainly didn't expect it to take off into the stratosphere like it did. I think at the time it was fastest to 1 million, and it still holds the record for the Europe's highest Kickstarter. So yeah, things have changed a lot.
Yeah, and I think back then, we were just motivated because we just really wanted to get some games out and ideas out and back to a way of working where we were really happy. We didn't have aspirations we didn't set goals of, we want to grow a company to this size and specifically work on this scale of game or anything. It was just get back to a place where we felt happy, really. And I think we've done that, and it was only after the Kickstarter we realised, wow, it can become more than what we initially thought, way more than we dared to dream, really. We have got like a fantastic team, and always have. We've had some members come and go, but everyone who's ever worked at Playtonic, I feel really proud to have worked with. Fantastic people. And this team that we've got now, we're now 64 people, and I've never wanted to be the head of a company of 64 people. It's not an aspiration anyone who's just passionate about making games should have. I've always just been about what games can we make, how are we going to do them, how can we empower everybody to do their best work. So we've had to evolve since, we just had small, humble aspirations right at the start. Let's have fun making games. Let's hope that there's an audience there that we can serve. And now we've just grown into this collective, large number of people, very like-minded people. And we're a bit old school in our approach. We want to be able to just surprise and keep things coming, and you learn about them as and when. And we'll probably get onto that a bit later, because, quite rightly, anyone sat in here could say, Replaylee is the first thing we've announced in a long time. What have you been doing? And there's answers we could give. But yeah, there's a time and a place. And,
a good game is eventually good.
Exactly, yeah. And things take time. But no, now we've actually got an opportunity to build out this multi-team studio as well, and get more things in production at the same time, and start looking at other genres. Simon here has been fantastic. He's helped us build a core tech team. It's almost like we're making a Platonic game engine within Unity, full of reusable components, tech, etc. That means we can test ourselves in other areas. And if we've got an idea, we can try and flesh it out. We've got some fantastic prototypes back at the studio across many different genres and aspirations. We've been enabled to do that because of the work that the software engineering team has put in. So yeah, from small, humble beginnings, let's just get the band back together, so to speak, and see if we can make something fun. It's now, wow, let's build a studio where people can look at, no matter what we say we're working on, think, wow, that game, like I used to look at Rare, you just saw the Rare badge on it and you think, that's a purchase. We've kind of got that aspiration now to get to that point.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so for me, it was also like we've kind of experienced many generations, I guess, at Rare and team sizes and the kind of projects you're working on. And for me, like when I first started, it was like a beautiful sweet spot of maybe 20 people all working on a single game. Your contributions great and stuff, and then obviously we kind of ballooned, and the team sizes got to like 40 and then 60, and then like 200 people working on the game. So then that was the appealing nature for me to join them. And obviously Gav says that we've got 64 people now, but that doesn't mean we're going to have 64 people working on the game. We still keep that sweet spot, like 20 or so.
Cool. Yeah, if you have something, yeah.
I wasn't actually there right from the very beginning, but I saw the Kickstarter and I got the email to say, would I like to join or be part of the Kickstarter originally. But I originally, I'm going to keep mentioning Rare, obviously, because we've got a history with that. But I was there for a long time, and when I left the company, it was because, for me, it's all I'd done since I was 16, and it had kind of become a little bit stale. I needed a break from it, and also I was working on a game that I didn't want to work on. And so I deliberately took a step out in the industry to pursue an incredibly unsuccessful music career. And then I got the email, which was like a breath of fresh air, and they said, would you like to join us, help make this game? And that was what it was about. I wanted to work on a game that I wanted to work on. And so I took a trip down to see the guys, and they showed me the Yooka-Replaylee, very early version of that, and I just was amazed. And I keep saying this, it's kind of, because I took that step out, it's like I closed my eyes, and all the things that I've been praying for while we were working on GameCube or whatever, we suddenly got the power to do that. And so, yeah, that was what I needed to kickstart me to get back into the career in the video game industry. So just to work on games that I want to make, rather than the games that we were trying to cover. I think there was a period of time at Rare where we were just trying to cover everything, because due to the size of it, the company had grown from 8 people when I began working there to 200 odd people. And now it's kind of ironic because you see the same kind of thing happening again, but there is a focus, as Gav said, to keep those projects separate and to keep the innovation going and not try and do too much, but just focus on the quality and make sure we produce games that we want to produce.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah, go ahead and clap. Yeah, obviously one of the things that we haven't touched on is, like, obviously back when you guys started, I can imagine you were thinking like, oh yeah, and eventually we'll be in a position where we can have our own publishing label and start funding other indie game projects, which is obviously, that's the reason why I'm here, because obviously the Yooka-Replaylee games had a publisher, so there wasn't really a dedicated kind of marketing team. A lot of you might know Daily. Daily has since obviously moved into game design. She's no longer doing kind of community management for us, but this is one of the first times that Platonic kind of has their own dedicated marketing team, and I wouldn't be able to be here talking to you guys today if it wasn't for kind of the successes of just Yooka-Replaylee in the beginning. So I am one of the things that has kind of changed since these guys started 10 years ago. But now we move on to the reason that most of you people are probably here. So we're going to now be talking about Yooka-Replaylee, and here you can see some of the old character art and, well, the most obviously notable changes. How many of you are fans of the Fluffy Laylee? Yeah. But yeah, obviously, just before EGX happened, I'm not sure if people noticed, but we obviously made a bit of a wave when we did our platform announcement. We briefly got a Switch 2 trending on Twitter. But obviously, in our console announcement trailer, we announced that Yooka-Replaylee is coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Nintendo platforms. But as you saw, if you look at our social media post, it's Nintendo side eyes. Yeah, my favorite platform. It's actually coming to the Alamo. That's what we're doing. But yeah, if you haven't checked out the trailer, do give it a watch. If you saw the announcement trailer back in June, this is all new content that has not been seen before. You can get a good look at the first 2 levels of the game, and then when you've done that, if you haven't given the demo a go yet, please do come check it out on the show floor. It's exclusive to this event, so you can only play it here and then nowhere else. But back to questioning our guys. So obviously, when you guys kind of were first working on the original ukulele, you talk about maybe some of the sort of hurdles you had during development back then, and then talk a little bit about the kind of motivations that then led to kind of Yooka-Replaylee and why Yooka-Replaylee is happening kind of now. Yeah, that is pretty much it. And whoever wants to start can go first.
Yeah, I think a lot of the hurdles for the first game were actually quite humane and human. It was like time, limited resources, our first time doing things like handling a lot more than just the core development for ourselves at Rare. We were absolutely taken care of in every way possible. It was such a nice, great and amazing place to work, and I'm sure it still is. But this, when you go out and work for yourselves, all of a sudden you're doing a lot more than you want to be. Talking with accountants and solicitors, direct to platform holders. We were in a great position at Rare that we were using our own in-house engine, so we were able to get whatever we wanted most of the time. You know, there's some incredible engineers at Rare, but all that was gone, and it was like we were brand new, starting out in the industry for the first time. For so many reasons, would have been just like that. And so I think where we ended up with the first ukulele was bearing in mind a lot of factors beyond our control. Really kind of, we should be proud of what we were able to achieve with all these extra hurdles that we had for the first time. But then I think when we did Ukulele in Impossible Lair and we had none of that, I think we could see ourselves, we could feel it, and then this was reflected as well with the critics, that second game was a much better reflection, I think, of the skill and experience of the team. So when we look back at Ukulele, we're thinking, you know what, it's not like we were bad developers and all of a sudden we became that much better. What was it holding us back? And all those barriers have just been eroded away over time. So with the core tech and the extra things we've been developing, the further knowledge we've had of how to get the best out of our tools, our middleware, things like that, and the fact that just in time when we looked at the calendar and thinking, oh blimey, 10 years, this is, how do we celebrate an anniversary? It just felt like a good reason to go back and show people actually we can bring quality back to that title. There's a lot of inherent problems with the game, and there's so many things we're doing differently. I don't think we've quite messaged it yet, and that's perhaps something in the marketing like Annie will be doing moving forwards, is to surprise people with how different the game's going to be. Even that show floor demo is quite outdated now compared to what we're playing in the office. Still moveset cameras evolved, big key decisions around the game, collectibles, even the roles of dodgy snake salesman has already changed. And there's lots to do. You start the game, certain story beats. So I don't quite know the terminology difference for a remaster or a remake, but there's definitely a lot more going on behind the scenes which are going to change the game for the better, we believe, than's been messaged yet. So it's going to be quite a different experience. So if you've played it before and you enjoyed it, we hope you're still going to love what's there and kind of see how we've made these decisions, and it's going to be a better game all up for people who, if you have played it before, it'll be better, and if you've not played it before, it's more worthy of being a modern day 3D platformer. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I can't wait to share more details, but Annie's put together a fantastic marketing timeline plan, and I can't skip ahead just yet.
Still.
You speak for us all, Gavin. Very little left to say. I think people underestimate, going back to the very beginning of the studio. I feel like you may have an expectation where you just put a lot of senior, amazing developers together with a brand new engine, and they'll immediately come out with the best game ever. But it's absolutely not like that. And I think it was an off-the-shelf engine, but it was a brand new engine to everybody, and it definitely took a long time to kind of figure out all the nuances and how to do stuff properly, and obviously that also impacts everything else that you have to do. And then, like Gav said, I mean, he's touched on it, but to see Gavin being a designer and also doing the finance and the HR, and then Jens doing the IT, and then all of these other jobs that really shouldn't, be on the developers. And it's like, over time that has completely changed now, and I feel like we've got through that.
Perfect. Steve, Kev, anything you'd like to say?
I've been disconnected in a way from the project, because as Gav mentioned that we've got other projects on the go, and we are very busy. But I think, as Gav mentioned, it's more of an evolution rather than a remaster of the game. And the parts that I've been connected with, I've been trying to sort of steer myself away from it, because I'm quite looking forward to streaming it and seeing the difference. But I think the main thing that we've got now is more resources. We've got a better engine, we've got more people, and also we've learned from the feedback from the first game. So yeah, I would call it an evolution, a good one too.
Yeah, I think we were proud with the original game, given the constraints we had. I mean, like Simon said, Gareth was trying to run a company and expand the company as well as designing, which is a crazy workload, and he bless him, he did a good job on it. But I think we all thought it was a little bit of unfinished business, that we knew, especially after doing Impossible Lair, that we knew we could make improvements. And then when I've seen the extra gameplay and stuff that's going into the new one, like Gav said, it's not really a remaster; it's almost a remake. So I think people will be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, so one of the things to kind of re-emphasize there is that when we are saying that we've really taken on board not only feedback that we got from games journalists, but also from the community. So when we say we've really taken that feedback on board, we do genuinely mean it. So far, that obviously generally people at conventions won't come speak too negatively about your game. They will go online and tweet about it instead. But generally the feedback we received so far is really positive. Obviously people who played the original have liked this one as well, and we've had quite a few people who said that they either didn't play the original or they had issues with the original, and then they would tell me some of the issues, and I've been really happy to be able to tell them that, well, those are some of the first things we were addressing when we were kind of looking at the pre-production and the production of Replaylee. So yeah, so definitely do come check it out and experience it for yourself. We've kind of been already touching upon this topic as we've been going on, but obviously let's talk a little bit about how the development process this time around is different, and especially kind of how your role is different to how it was back then. Obviously, when we talked about Gavs doing X, Y, and Z at the same time. So what are the differences now?
So again, we'll start this way around. As I said, there's more projects going on, and so rather than, personally for myself anyway, focusing on one particular project, we've got more staff, we've got more artists, we've got more designers, we've got more software, we've got more musicians, so we're able to tackle those areas and specialise more in those areas, rather than, I think, when we were a very small team, it was kind of being a little bit of a jack of all trades, and as well, I can do the animation for this, and I can hand it, sort this out, and me and Steve can get these characters moving. And then we took on people like Gary, who would then now take our models away and rig them. And so I only now focus on the thing that I know how to do really well. And that might be concept or another, maybe a pitch deck or something like that, or maybe it'll be project X, Y, or Z. But I quite like the variety in my job, and we're very flexible, and we are our policy basically just that you've got the best person doing what they do, you get the best person to do what they enjoy doing the best, you're going to get the best out of them. And so I work well doing what I'm doing. Now, I might skip from project to project, but it's very different to what I was doing originally, because it was this push to get a game done from a group of people that hadn't all worked together for a long time. And it was a big ask too, because we got I don't know if any of the Kickstarter backers are out in the crowd there, and thanks very much for backing the project, but you did feel beholden to them and to deliver this game, whereas now we've got kind of a different sort of working ethic. We do the game that we want to do, we listen to the feedback, but there was a lot of pressure, I think, originally, but now we've got that luxury of more people, and we can spread our wings a little bit more with the things we work on. Just it's a nice place to work.
Yeah, so with regards to the changing in development, I think it's drastically changed. So when we were first making Yooka-Laylee, I think it was, at the time, it was just do whatever it takes to get something that works in any way possible without looking at anybody else's work to see if they've done it in a decent way. And that has transformed so much now that in our new games, like we've got incredible processes, incredible tools, we do everything really well, we review each other's work, we critique, we improve. With Yooka-Replaylee, it's interesting because we now have all the baggage, because we've gone back to the old project, but all the baggage that came with that development, and it's been a very interesting mix of being able to do stuff again properly and having to possibly live with some of the things that we had, or bending it to our will. This project is probably slightly different to new projects that we're working on.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I do miss this sort of slightly Wild West feel about the first game, for sure, when you could just put stuff in and no one's going to check it, and move on to the next thing. I mean, of course, my stuff didn't need checking. It was amazing anyway. So, but in some ways, it felt very old school Rare doing it in that way. Obviously, that's not really sustainable as the company expands, for sure. And for me, I've been full time on this game for a few months now, so I'm like remastering all the characters, which includes going back over a lot of Kev's characters as well, which is a new, it's new work for me, because I usually just only work on my own stuff. So that's been a nice thing to do. So just using new software to like up-res the textures and add more polygons, and then give them a fresh paint. But yeah, and as the company expands and as roles get more specialised, I mean, I think a character's only half done if I don't get to do the animation. And unfortunately now, I don't get to do that because we have specialist animators, and if I was doing that, then they're obviously not doing their job, and nobody's doing my job. So you just do what you need to do, really. That's best for the company. So hopefully towards the end of the project, if I can get in on a few animations, then yeah, that'll be nice.
I think you might have to fight Gary Towell before that.
I'd say, yeah, broadly across everyone, I think it's sort of been touched on already, is that before we were like, beggars can't be choosers. If something needed doing, it was just quickly dished out, can someone do the best they possibly can? And now we're getting to use and everyone does have a special power on the team. It's now, who's the best person to do this? This is this type of task. They may be on another project, but if it makes sense that they do it, we go, great, that's going to make it quality, not I'll just get it done on time. And that twist in the approach is just yielding high quality results. It's not genius or anything, it's just getting the best out of people this time, rather than just rushing to the finish line as we were. I myself, like I said, I just don't have to do hardly anything now in terms of how I just, over the past 10 years, there's just been certain roles where we've just said, oh, if we get someone in doing this, great. That's going to free lots of people up, not just myself, but we're all doing such a little bit of everything beyond just game dev. So now we've actually just got a lot of talented people purely focused on making the games. That's naturally helping as well.
I think he's playing himself down a little bit too much there.
Nah.
I think Devin's had an incredible impact on everything that we've been currently doing, especially replays.
If anyone needs someone who can do HR in future, though, and this all fails, at least I've learned a few more things. I can go, try different career paths.
Brilliant. To be fair, from like my perspective, one of the things, and especially like I already mentioned, obviously quite a few of you probably have heard of Daily or have interacted with Daily. But one of the things I do like about Playtonic, and it's something that we kind of aspire to do, is like help people grow and pursue what they're passionate about. So obviously Daily started out as a community manager and has since become a fantastic game designer. So obviously a lot of these guys have moved from being as hands-on and more like mentoring the kind of future of the games industry in terms of like talent. And that's, as someone who's quite passionate about like generating entry-level positions in the industry and just ensuring that we're growing and not shrinking, it's been really lovely to see that is kind of enabled at Playtonic. Perfect. I know Simon has expressed that this was a struggle for him. But yeah, would be curious to hear if there's any sort of kind of memories from the past 10 years that have particularly stuck to your mind, either whether it's about, I don't know, just being in the office or working on Yooka-Replaylee or working on Replaylee, just anything they would like to share with the crowd today that they might not know or might find funny. Please laugh.
Well, nervous about answering this one.
Yeah.
But there's honestly a mixture of emotions from the past 10 years. Like at the start of Playtonic is when I started a family as well. So thinking about memories, there's just so many. I don't know where to start. It's strange. This game, 10 years ago, I was bringing a 6-month-old baby boy into the office after hours when everyone else had gone, and I'd get to finally do some more work on the game, which I couldn't do during the day if I was doing all these other roles. I think back to those times, and it's been a very special 10 years for me personally, not just with Playtonic, but with other things going on. And I've now seen Simon. Simon's got a young family, and he was saying to me the other day, "Oh, right, how am I going to balance this work-life balance?" And you have young kids, and they don't follow the producer's schedule at all. They don't keep to their U-track tasks of fall asleep at the right time, do they? And be hungry at this time, not that time, and things like that. Yeah. So no, there's been so many happy memories. A lot of them intrinsically linked to EGX and Res, announcing the game, the time when we announced that incredible or terrible You Decide rap that's in the game. Recording that in the studio is one of the funniest moments I remember. Dan, our internal composer, all of a sudden, he's a lovely chap, quite quiet, muted, isn't he? And then all of a sudden he turned into this maestro, trying to get the best performance out of just a bunch of 20 idiots trying to sing a rap all of a sudden. And he just turned into this completely different persona that I've never seen from him. And we were all trying not to laugh that out. And then moved on, seeing the critical reception to Impossible Lair. That was like a huge wave of relief, because honestly, if that hadn't have gone down so well, we probably would have questioned ourselves a lot and thought, oh, right, we shouldn't be doing this anymore. Then, setting up a publishing division and making that family larger with a much more diverse range of roles. It's fantastic. We finally, last week moved into a new office, and we've been in what I call the Magnolia Prison for 10 years since we started. And yeah, finally it feels like actually we're a game developer now. We're not just, you know, in this literal, I don't want to be disrespectful to where we were, but it wasn't what you'd imagine game development to look like. Not at all. But it just did the job at the time, and we kind of grew faster than we realised. Actually, we've got to take care of a few other things. So no, there's lots of happy memories, lots of some memories I'm not so happy with, but the passion's there to keep going and making more of them, I think.
It's funny, Gav has mentioned the new office. That's the first thing I heard from one of our other producers, James Booth. He was the first person I met on my first day at Playtonic. We happened to be on the same bus, and he was like, so this is the office at the moment, but we've been looking to move into a new office for several years now. So it had gotten to a point of being a bit of a myth. We would joke about it internally. It's like, yes, the new office. Is there any updates? No, okay, cool. So I don't think we believed that we were moving into the new office until we actually moved into the new office. So that's actually a funny memory from my side, because that was the first thing I heard. Yeah, the new office.
I haven't got a funny memory as such, other than Gary Talbot, just in general. But I think one of the things that struck me the most impressive is the way we handled the whole pandemic thing, because obviously put a lot of pressure on different companies, and we adapted to that. And obviously this new hybrid way of working was introduced, and we had people at the company that needed a shield. And so I did worry and think, is this going to kill Playtonic? Is this going to knock a lot of companies off the map? And we didn't. We took teams, and we if anything, I think it actually strengthened us, because our communication now is better. I mean, we can do it remotely, we can all work together for sure, but I'm sitting there up in Cheshire and I'm in a meeting, which fortunately Gav has really pushed us to adhere to all of the laws of booking a meeting. Use our schedule assistant, Kevin, and I'll and respond to this. All of this it's so important, the communication side of it, and that pandemic really did teach us to communicate well. And since then, I think we've all become stronger, and we know where everybody's at. We know what people are doing. We've got a really good map of where everybody is, whether you're in the company or you're working remotely at home. But I think that pandemic did teach us a lot, so there was a positive from that. So I think that we handled that very well too.
Yeah, my strongest memories, unsurprisingly, will always be about the start, the first 6 months, including the Kickstarter. Like I said, going from this sort of cosseted role at Rare, but being sort of disillusioned. I was 40. I was wondering, whether that, my time's come to an end almost in the games industry. I'd had some big hits, and I didn't expect to have another, massive career moment. But then along comes, Gav. Heard on the grapevine that he'd formed a company with Jens and Chris, and and just seeing, just that Kickstarter, see we were all watching that number start, at the zero, the countdown, and then to see it going up so fast, we thought, this can't be right. We thought something must be broken. It was just such a crazy moment, and none of us expected that. And I just felt such a huge amount of pressure with the characters as well. Because Gav was like, just do some characters. So I just did some characters, and then you kind of get that affirmation from the Kickstarter how much everyone sort of really loved them, and the fact we're still using them now. I guess they were sort of decent after all.
They were all right, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm painfully aware that we were meant to wrap up at 5:30, but I will try and go through the remaining questions until we are told to stop or get kicked out. Well, I'm asking this question as a marketer, and I appreciate that this is very dangerous, actually, because there's things that these guys aren't allowed to talk about, so this is a test. But yeah, so is there something that you personally are particularly excited about when it comes to Yooka-Replaylee? Whether it's just some like game improvements or new ideas, or the fact that something that's been delivered by a new team member that you think has been a particularly fantastic contribution? And if you're starting to say something, I don't like, I will frown and you will have to stop.
Yeah.
Oh, precious Simon.
So for me, one of the, obviously we mentioned that, we've looked at the feedback from the first launch, and we're looking at really trying to how to tackle almost everything we can. And one of the feedback was, the levels were so large and sparse. And I think the thing for me that I love the most is how we, that's a constraint that we probably can't really change. We don't want to, cut out half the level or shrink it down. It doesn't work. So it's how to put so much more content in those levels that actually fixes that problem. So I think that we're doing a really great job with that. And I'm excited to see what people think of that.
Yeah, I think it's been nice to see. I'll talk about the art team. It's just been nice to see the art team come together, like finding out what it's really like to sort of make a game with an aim to releasing a game, instead of kind of almost tinkering around with demos. And some of the stuff that's going into the environments, just in terms of like immersing yourself in that environment, like there's now we have. I know these things aren't new to games, but they're new to the world of Yooka. So we've got some really cool grass. We've got like dynamic snow. We've got like it's really nice mist you can walk through, and that sort of dynamic. So that level of immersion, I think, yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, touching on that, like we're punching above our weights again, which is where we've always wanted to be for a small team. I don't think it's right to ask of consumers, hey, can you bear in mind we're small, we're limited, always buying and I think vote with your wallets for quality. You don't really need to know or care about the story behind the scenes. It's all about the end game. Is the end game worthy of your money? So with that, we are doing a lot of stuff in this game where I do feel like, wow, I don't think there's any other team in the industry under these restrictions and limits could push and get so much out of so many different things. And I'm really proud of the team, and I'm so happy. We're still here, we're still going, and there's more to come from us. I've just been able to trust everyone else and benefit from their passion being added to the projects, and regards Replaylee in particular as well. There's just lots more to let everyone know about eventually, and I don't know, I don't want to upset Annie. I'm looking forward for people finding out what happens when you put a Rextro token in an arcade machine this time around. So it's not what it was last time.
Yeah.
This is the last question, isn't it now?
There's one more.
There's one more.
One
Sorry.
more.
Okay. So one thing I'm actually looking forward to listening to is the new music, because of the effort we spent on getting that sort of resourcing trips to there with that to get that re-recorded. So that's going to sound awesome. I won't say too much more because David Wise bought me a couple of drinks earlier on, so I don't want to get too loose-lipped. He's in here somewhere, but some of his music
in the back row, right there.
But yeah, the module, the section that I've been working on, I'm obviously looking forward to seeing how people receive that. But also, as I say, I'm kind of focusing on other projects, and I'm trying to not see everything through development because I want that surprise, because I also want to stream that and say, oh my god, this is different now. So yeah.
Perfect. We have one more question to go through, and yes, they're nodding. Yes, please wrap it up as it's famously been said by someone. But yeah, I think that ties quite nicely into the last sort of thing. It's like, what is kind of next? What is the next 10 years of Playtonic looking like? Obviously, again, there's not particular projects that we can announce or talk about, but we can tease some things. So what is the future of Playtonic looking like? Hopefully bright.
Multiple 3D platformers, attacking a slightly different angle and USP. Like I said, we've got this core tech, it's now leverageable in many different ways, but what it does enable us to do is try and do very different things with 3D platforming, which I'm excited about because I just want more of them. And I'm hoping lots of people are buying Astrobot in huge numbers because it's well worthy of it. And that's great if they can, other games like that can really help bring back 3D platformers to the fore because we've got a lot of exciting things we want to do in that space. I definitely want to make a racing game at some point. Yeah. We've already got a load of joke names like Yooka-Replaylee or something. And just a couple of different surprises. I think as over the past years, we've slightly approached the types of games we want to make, and that includes experiences where actually I want to play some stuff with my young family, and can we do things that are attacking that space. So just more fun, more games, and hopefully more panels like this. Yeah. That'd be great.
Perfect. Yes, we will wrap it up. I'm sure we were hoping for questions. Yeah, we were hoping for questions, but I'm sure these guys can answer a few outside of the room.